That awkward moment when you realize most of the video of feats of this guy is going to be him not alive, but in a zombified Edo Tensei state where he gets resurrected and controlled. Since you're not really alive, it's a state that helps you regenerate pretty much instantaneously if this form or zombified state of him gets injured. As you can see, even after big chunks of his body is destroyed, this state still allows for regeneration. But let's dig into the might of the second Hokage. There's a lot of different ninjas spread out throughout the Naruto world, each with their different lands or leaders. In the Hidden Leaf Village, there's been a few leaders over the years. This leader title is known as being the Hokage. When it comes to the Leaf Village title, you call them Hokage or Kage. I mean, there's ninja ranks in the world of Naruto. When you're an apprentice, you get better, you become elite, and you become at the top of the food chain. Usually the beings at the top of the food chain end up being leaders, hence getting your own face carved into the place. A legendary ninja from the past that was also Hokage, the second Hokage, for example. Somebody that's naturally strong in their own right. I mean, how are you not strong when you literally have the rank of Hokage? Being a super duper elite type of ninja, you know they know the standard stuff. Like being able to manipulate your inner energy chakra to do ninja art type stuff and manipulate it to the point where you can do stuff like stand on water. Since he's a Hokage level being, it's natural that he has a whole bunch of different versatile abilities like ninja arts to be able to use your inner energy to do all kinds of versatile amount of abilities or blasts. But even without that stuff, he doesn't necessarily have to rely on that because there's heavy implications that he's a complete ninja. Like knowing the basics, hand-to-hand combat, knowing how to wield a blade, taijutsu type stuff. There's plenty of occasions of him using a blade or all kinds of ninja tool type stuff. Like he's not afraid to use kunai knives, standard ninja tools like the explosive bombs or tags. Due to him being an elite ninja type character, he has a lot of versatile type of abilities. Like some of the most busted jutsus of all time, like the reanimation jutsu from Orochimaru, he's actually the one that came up with it. Even the teleportation speedster type stuff like from the fourth Hokage, guess who was the one who actually made this jutsu up? The second Hokage. So one can say he's a speedster type character as well because of this jutsu of being able to touch people to teleport to them instantly. He even had to check Naruto saying, nah, that's not your dad's jutsu. I made that jutsu before your dad. Even Naruto's signature jutsu, like the ability to make clones of yourself, Shadow Clone Jutsu, the second Hokage can actually do. He's very versatile on the different jutsu. We only seen him use a few, but he's implied he can do a lot more when it comes to his versatility. Of course, he can do the standard summoning jutsu, like summoning creatures and stuff. Yada, yada, yada. When it comes to different chakra releases, he likes to use water type of jutsu to blast you with water. By the way, when it comes to these elements, it actually helps when you're in an environment that suits your element. Like if you was to fight the second on an ocean, that probably wouldn't be the best idea because there's actually ninjas that mention how it's impressive that he can manipulate so much water even though he's on dry land, making your water in the shape of a dragon. Like in this case, you can see him literally making a water wall on dry land. He could even shoot piercing water. They call it water style severing wave to cut thick branches. He can shoot water style needles at the opponent to pierce you. Let me talk about his speed for 2 seconds. It's easy to say somebody isn't fast because, oh, he ain't really fast, it's just teleportation. Well, think about it this way. I will admit, we lack showings for the second Hokage, so just work with me here. The fourth Hokage, who's extremely similar because he's using his literal technique, the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport. When he's getting blitzed by somebody that has raw speed, for example, like the Hokage, even though he does have, yes, the teleportation speed, but when you're getting blitzed this fast, he has to be able to activate the teleportation in time before getting punched. So it still shows he's able to react to these punches like this, despite him not actually dodging it with his muscles or nothing. The same can be said for the second Hokage. This is how you could look at his speed. Mixing in his taijutsu with his teleportation could be a deadly combination. I mean, it's not like we got some good visuals on this or nothing, but when it comes to fighting speed and taijutsu type stuff, he has to be pretty fast to be able to fight Uchiha and stuff, beings that have the Sharingan that help their fighting speed to be able to react to their movements, predict what they're about to do. So you know his fighting speed has to be competent to compete with Uchiha members for the most part, right? I mean, we've seen him do it young, in sword play. There doesn't seem to be much of a speed gap when you actually see them fight. There's no implications of that. But instead, they make them seem quite similar or even. Or if the Uchiha do get an advantage, he can use his taijutsu mixed with teleportation to where he would do the Flying Thunder God technique to get a jump on the Uchiha and stuff. You know, they fought wars with the Uchiha and stuff like that, so he has to be pretty quick, reflex-wise. Notice how he uses his blade in mixture with his teleportation and taijutsu all in one. So whatever advantages the Uchiha might have when it comes to raw reflexes and stuff, he can make up for it with his teleportation, mixed in with his taijutsu, sword play, knife skills, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's already confirmed that top-tier Uchiha members, like Madara, for example, can react to blitzes from beings like the Hokage, beings that have attacks that quote unquote, they said this in the guidebook, when he's using certain attacks, he can attack at speeds close to light. Uchiha members can literally react to these type of blitzes from the Hokage, so can fourth Hokage, the being that's mimicking the second Hokage's technique. Hokage even said you're able to block him at that speed, showing that he can react to it. I mean, we directly see straight on screen feats of him reacting to Madara's, like Madara tried to stab him in this particular occasion, he was able to dodge and teleport away in time. It shows that, yeah, he's definitely one of the fastest. Implications like this could mean he could react to things moving close to the speed of light, but even if you don't want to believe that, he still has to be way past supersonic just by default of Naruto characters' lower tiers of speed or reflexes. He has to be at least lightning level fast to the point where if lightning was coming at him, he could dodge lightning. You know, stuff like that when it comes to his reflexes. He has to be somewhere in that range. When the third Hokage was pulling up on his reanimated body, he dodged his attack here, for example, to show fighting speed. I mean, when it comes to his speed, he's regarded in a way to where they imply his teleportation is even better than the Force, because there's occasions like this where the fourth tries to teleport something away. The second was actually able to do it. Like this orb, for example, was in the process of blitzing the fourth. The second Hokage, the main guy I'm talking about in this video, was able to teleport it away fast enough. Like, check this out frame by frame right quick. You know how fast the fourth is when it comes to reacting to attacks. This ball was near him. The second comes over there, takes it with a clone, puts it over here, kaboom. Not only that, he can teleport a shadow clone and have him kind of do his bidding too. Madara even talks about his fighting speed. You know, the man, the myth, the legend himself talks about how he's known to be the fastest of all the shinobi of his time. You know what I mean? So he has to be fast compared to the fastest people in the Naruto universe. He himself implied, similar to how the fourth Hokage or Minato can teleport a tail beast bomb, he can do it as well. In the war, he basically stated how he can teleport a tail beast bomb away with the flying Thunder God technique. You guys already know how the bigger the thing you teleport away, the harder it is. Y'all remember that time Minato teleported the tail beast Nine Tails himself and it took a lot of chakra? But the second Hokage can teleport these entities to Obito in the blink of an eye. Not implying much fatigue doing so either. He saw it coming, but this wasn't enough for this particular opponent. This opponent was busted. There's even a technique that benefits from two ninja knowing this jutsu. Like the fourth and him working together can actually trade places with each other on the battlefield to get the jump on their opponent, instantaneous teleportation style. Because, you know, once they mark the being with their hand, they can instantly teleport to that being anytime they feel like it. They explain it like this: the two of us will combine our Flying Thunder God techniques. Put your mark on me. Man, here it is in action. Flying Thunder God, they simply switched places by teleporting to help land the hit on their opponent better. We know he can use a sword when it comes to skills and stuff. The same goes for Kunai, but when it comes to flashy feats, when it comes to his physicals, we don't have many to go off of, really. We only get occasions like this where we get to see a little glimpse of possibly his superhuman physicals about cracking his wall. Possibly, maybe. This could be chakra-enhanced punches, who knows? In this occasion, when they was reanimated in the past, kicking third Hokage back this far like this, for example, physicals are implied to be superhuman, but it's too hard to judge what his pure physicals are. He knows team-up jutsu that can contain the almighty 10-tailed beast, for example, working together with other Kage. It should be noted that this is a team-up move, though. The Kage did a barrier that can hold in this 10-tailed beast to the point where if the 10-tails tries to blast against it, it'll end up hurting itself. This 10-tails tried that, blasting against that barrier, that simply just did not cut it. And he was 1/4 of the power to help do this, so it lets you know how strong these beings' jutsu are, especially working together. But yeah, this was like a team-up type of move together, though. When it comes to his water style and things like that, it's heavily implied he's very destructive with his water. Like how I mentioned earlier, how he can produce water on a scale that's impressive even when they're on dry land. There's also implications that he's impressive with water because Madara felt it was necessary to pull up a Susanoo to block his attack. For Madara to want to pull out a Susanoo to block his attack, he must have had respect for his attack. I mean, just to give you a reference point, you remember Itachi, right? His version of a Susanoo, which we all could agree that Madara's Susanoo is probably a lot stronger. But even so, Itachi's Susanoo was able to withstand mountain-shattering levels of attack by using the lightning from the sky to blast it on Itachi. Itachi was able to shield from this anyway, and Itachi was dying and weakened and sick and all this stuff, and he could still withstand mountain-shattering attacks. So just imagine how durable Madara is. Even though he was on the ground pretty much defenseless, Madara still had to play it safe. Like, you see how helpless he looked? Madara still felt the need to pull out a Susanoo to block this attack. Even if it was a little one, it still shows the respect. If Itachi Susanoo can withstand mountain-shattering levels of attacks, Madara's definitely can too. What do you guys think about that? How strong do you think this needle blast was? For Madara to feel like he needed to use a Susanoo to block it. Even though there isn't much evidence of his power, first of all, he's a Hokage level being by default. That's already an impressive accolade to be a Hokage. That means you was the strongest ninja at one point. But then you got the fact that when he was getting mad in this occasion, Orochimaru and Sasuke during the time period was getting a little nervous, showing that he's very powerful even to their standards. We know Orochimaru can fight four-tailed cloak Naruto in the early days and stuff and still kind of hold his own. That cloak Naruto can still level mountains. There's a fair assumption that he can still blast apart mountains as the second Hokage, right? You got characters like Gaara that can use this much sand and control it, like on some literal tsunami type stuff. I mean, when you got characters like Gaara that can produce this much sand on a whim and manipulate it, a city size worth amount, not to mention we've seen Gaara protect an entire village by shielding the entire village with a whole bunch of sand, city sized amounts of sand used as a shield. Then had the strength to move it so all that heavy sand won't land on everybody, crushing everybody. If Gaara can do something like that, who's to say there isn't a good possibility the second Hokage, when it comes to water type stuff, he could do something similar and have a ton of water wash over the entirety of the village or something when it comes to how much water he can smother or manipulate at once. Right quick, let's look at people that are not Hokage level. Beings like this can still produce not only this much earth, but also this much water. I think a good way to get an understanding of the second Hokage's raw destructive power when it comes to his water releases is other water style uses in the Naruto series, like the Mizukage, for example. Like, we've seen her do some extremely powerful water style jutsu. She actually has more flashier on-screen feats when it comes to the water style stuff. Like, she created in the Naruto the Last, you can see somebody else use a water jutsu, like the Mizukage, for example. Her jutsu was able to protect from meteors with her raw blast power. Like, I know this isn't necessarily the second Hokage's feat, but for her to be able to do a water jutsu, this can kind of give you an idea of how the top tiers level or Hokage level beings blast power could, or what their blast power can do as Hokage level beings. Because she's also a Hokage level being too, because she's a Kage, Mizukage. This could give you like a range of power they have to be in. And for anybody that has their doubts, these meteors were coming down with so much speed and force that they could level an entire village, like on some nuclear explosion type stuff, or level the village or city with one hit because of the speed and velocity from space, pieces of the moon falling down. And there's beings that are Hokage level that can do water style jutsu that can protect against stuff like this. I think the second technically has the ability to do this as well, just from default of him being a Hokage and being one of the greatest. To make matters worse when it comes to his blast power, he can literally do a similar technique when it comes to water style that the Mizukage did. To further add on the implication that he could probably stop meteors that could level cities with his blast or dragon style water blast. When it comes to water style jutsu, this could be all the evidence we need to prove that he could level an entire island if he wanted to, but we never really got any full screen time of it though. Like, I'm not saying the Mizukage is a noob or nothing. She's a top tier water user too and stuff too. But I think if she can do it, I wouldn't say it's too far-fetched to say the second can do it. What do you think he would do if he was in that same situation where if pieces of the moon were falling to the earth, he would protect the village if he was the current Hokage, right? So I definitely believe his attacks can protect against city or village shattering attacks. I would say his blast power can nullify, and his water dragon jutsu or water in general can smother it if he wanted to. Who's to say he couldn't summon a humongous tidal wave to blast away the city with a whole bunch of water that way, you know? It's easy to lowball him to an untrained mind, but it's quite obvious when you dissect him and when you see his writer intent, he's supposed to be powerful. Narratively speaking, even if we don't see him do it, he has to be up there with the top tiers. Maybe not up there with the Sage of Six Paths or nothing, but up there with the top tier Hokage level beings before all that Sage of Six Path power and stuff got revealed. You know what I mean? But before I get going, you got to respect him. And I got to say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect the second Hokage.